Hi class, Professor Brennan here. We're going to continue with our discussion about research and the small group, and I'm going to go straight to the PowerPoint right now. Here we are. This is where we left off. We're going to go to the next PowerPoint. We just got finished talking about the questions in the group of which you really need to have the discussion, especially for the first part of the project that we're on right now. You would be asking yourselves these first 6. Okay, super important. All right. As you do your research, you're going to need to keep track of it. You're going to be doing a lot of different research, and there's about 4 or 5 or 6 of you in a group. I think generally there's 5. And that means that there's going to be many of you potentially going over the same things, right? Finding the same research. You're going to want to have a variety of research. You're not going to want to have the same things. So you're going to want to keep track of your research anyway, because it's going to be hard. You're going to go through a lot, and it might be hard for you to find it later. Like, you'll remember stuff, and once you start going through a lot of stuff, sometimes it's difficult to remember, like, where you went, where you found it, what was the exact name of it, who was the author, all these things. So what I like to do, this is not to overwhelm you, it's to give you an idea of what you're looking for. You need to know who's the author, okay? And we don't mean it came from the Fresno Bee. Let's just say it was a Fresno Bee. Who's the writer? Who's the reporter, right? From the Fresno Bee who wrote this article. Who's the reporter? It came from the Bee, so the title of the article. What's the article's name in the Fresno Bee? And let's look at this. When was it published? What's the date of publication? What day of the week? What's the date? Volume number is not going to apply. We know who the publisher is. If you need a page number, generally if it's online, that's not really going to apply. But we need this information we're getting from the Fresno Bee, all that stuff, so we can find it again, right? Let's say you write it down and you want to look it up and see, is this the right thing, or you don't keep the link. We want the URL link. All internet sources always have a URL. So we want that link as well. If you're doing a peer-reviewed article or peer-reviewed journal article, you're going to want all kinds of stuff from this thing, okay? We're going to want to know, what are the authors? Who are the authors? What's the title of the article? What's the name of the journal? When was it published? What's the volume number? What is the article number? Right? They've got like a journal number and the volume number. There's different numbers associated with it. Who's the publisher? Who publishes the journal? Where does it come from? Or if we're looking at a book, who's the publisher and the city and state? These are all the things, if you have a book, you're going to need to know this stuff, right? So get all that information ahead of time. Keep track of it. I'll tell you what, the best way to do this, the easiest way to do this, is to put this information, because you're going to have to, if you put it as a source in your research, you keep it, you're going to have to cite it. So just learn how to cite it right away. Figure out how to cite this MLA, how to cite this APA. I'm going to allow for either one of those to be used. All right, let's keep going. How do we evaluate the credibility of the sources? This is super important, so I want you all to pay good attention here. Evaluating credibility is key. We don't believe anything just because someone wrote it down doesn't mean it's true, right? We'll look later in this lecture about the difference between opinion and fact. There's a lot of opinions out there, lots. Doesn't mean they're facts. And in research, we're looking for credibility, things, sources that we can trust, things that can be proven. In written documents, informational publications rather than entertainment. We don't want, USA Today might be interesting, not really a good publication. Let's see, Newsweek is though, okay? Let's, what else? Us Magazine, People Magazine, that's entertainment. Not really true. Professional audience versus popular audience. Ask yourself, who is this periodical, right, newspaper? Who is this magazine? Who is this peer-reviewed? Like in this health communication, we know it's written for people in the health field as well as in the communication field, right? Who is it written for? Who is their audience? We want a professional audience. That includes you, students. You're like little mini scholars here. Okay, you're scholars, scholarites, or neophyte scholars. That's it. You're neophyte scholars right now. Neophyte means a beginner. Neophyte scholars. So you're in that professional audience, not a popular audience, but a professional audience. Super important to ask yourself that. Is it peer reviewed? Has someone reviewed it? You know that things that are published in the Bee or in the New York Times or in the LA Times, they have an editor. An editor has reviewed that information and allowed it to be in there. Okay, this checklist I can't say enough about it. How do you know if something is credible? Okay. What's the expertise of the writer as well as the publication? Are they an expert? Fresno Bee is an expert in Fresno. But you need to know the Fresno Bee, LA Times, New York Times, Sacramento Bee, they all have points of view. All newspapers today, they probably had them before, but I haven't been studying them, the entire 21st or 20th century. Okay. But they have a point of view. The Fresno Bee has a fairly conservative point of view. The LA Times does not. It has a fairly liberal point of view. The New York Times definitely has a liberal point of view. I like to say liberal progressive, but they're still all corporatized. So keep all that in mind of how they present that information. However, they are experts in their field. These are newspapers that are working newspapers that make money. They have people that read those newspapers. They have advertisers. So they are experts in journalism. Okay, that's what we're talking about. Does your source have expertise in the area that they are writing or talking about? Do they have objectivity? Objectivity means are they all about opinion, or they're actually presenting facts of exactly what happened? Right? Not someone's point of view and their opinion about it. And point of view is important. Let's just take the Fresno Bee. Now, I'm not a big Bee reader because mostly I don't find that their articles are very helpful, because I like more national news. However, if I wanted to find out about stuff that was happening in Fresno County, I'm going to go to the Bee, because the Bee usually reports on stuff that's happening in the county, but they report it on in a certain way. Here's the other thing. And you could also use like ABC News 30. There are other formats that you could use. It doesn't just have to be the Bee that have local news. And I forgot exactly what I was going to say, but objectivity means, are they reporting the facts or opinions? Being able to discern which is which. Are they saying exactly what happened? Not what they think happened, but what happened. Are they giving, if they're being objective, they're going to give many points of view, not just one point of view. Let's say, example, a police shooting of an African American. Do they give the point of view of the African American community? If that shooting happened in an African American community, do they give the point of view of that community? And do they give the point of view of the officer? Are they saying all of it? Okay, that is a balanced presentation of information in which you can then discern what do you think is true and what do you don't think is true. Okay, that's what I mean. Do they attempt to take an objective stance? Observational capacity means, do you have direct experience? Does that person have direct experience with something? Are they able to observe it for themselves? Someone that is a war reporter who is actually there reporting on the war when the war is happening, you're more likely to believe that person than someone who learns about the war through someone else's experience. Okay, do they have observational capacity? How recent is it? Things are changing really fast, constantly changing, right? So we want the most recent information, especially when we're talking about social issues. Now, poverty, we've been using poverty as an example. Poverty has been around forever. But how we deal with it, maybe it hasn't changed that much. And in fact, but you want the most recent data on it. What is our state of poverty here in the Central Valley? What is our state? How do we define, and racism was another thing. How do we define racism in the Central Valley? What is it? Oftentimes racism, we only think of blacks and whites. It's not limited to African Americans and Caucasians. It's not. So what does that mean? Right? There are so many pieces, but let's go back to the recency part. The recency means you want to get the most recent information, recent discourse, recent research on your topic. And recent means probably in the last 3 to 4 years. If you get information from farther back than that, then you really have to have a good reason for it. Like a reason like you're going to show how, for example, poverty, that Fresno County has been impoverished for a long time. You could show that, how the solutions aren't working because we still have a poverty problem. Okay, we're going to look at this and then we're going to stop. So discerning opinion from fact. So I get one over here and let you see what a fact is. It can be proven or tested, right? Data or statistics, it can be proven or tested. You did data from somewhere. People have to be able to look at it. More than one source agrees that this is what has happened. You can't just say that one source says, I said it happened, and no one else agrees with you. Probably it's not true. I mean, that's really how we do. There has to be consensus about that fact. Okay, let's give an example. This Flat Earth Society. I actually had a student give a speech on their belief in the flat Earth. There's a whole bunch of people, well, not a whole bunch, but there are a certain group of people that are saying that they believe that. But it has already been proven, scientifically proven, that we're round in the way the solar system works. There's no way we could be flat. It's impossible. And more than one source concurs that the Earth is not flat. Derives from a valid and credible source. So is it from a source that we trust? Right? The fact comes from a source we trust. And it's presented without fallacy, fallacious reasoning. It's presented honestly. Honestly mean, is it transparent? Are they willing to give you the data so you can go check it out for yourself? If they try to hide it from you, then probably they're not telling the truth, and it comes down to someone's opinion. Why don't we want opinions? They can't be tested. They usually come from one person. More than one person can hold the same opinion, but oftentimes it derives from like one entity of some sort. It's a value statement. Everybody has different values. Values are beliefs. It's perception. It can't be proven. It contains language. This is the way that you can discern, right? We're trying to discern how you're going to know one's fact and one's opinion. That usually it has language that is used to provoke an emotional reaction. It's said in a way that triggers people to have an emotional reaction of fear, hate, anger, sadness. It's usually said that way. There has to be more than one. It can't just have one of these things to be an opinion. It has to have more than one of those. Because you can state a fact that can make you feel something. Okay? And it uses fallacious reasoning, which is going to lead us right into, what do we mean by fallacious reasoning? What is it? We're going to stop there. We're going to pick up fallacious reasoning momentarily. I'll see you then. Bye.